everyone and welcome to the Kiki London YouTube channel. My name's Amanda and in today's video I'm going to be doing my own nails using the Kiki London Easy Build Up Gel. So I really hope you all enjoy watching. If you do, then please don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. To start off with, I have already done all of the cuticle prep on my nails. I do already have a dedicated prep video up on the Kiki London channel, so I will leave that linked in the description box below. So check that out if you have any questions regarding prep. But to start off with here, I'm just going to cleanse the nails using a Kiki London alcohol pad. This is just to ensure my tip's going to stick nicely to my nail plate because there's no dust or oils on the nail plate. Then I'm going to come in and apply my tips. So I'm going to be doing tips in this set rather than sculpting because when I'm filming I find tips a little bit easier than sculpting, to be honest, especially on myself as well. I always find sculpting is a little bit easier to do on somebody else. Now, as you can see here, I'm really squeezing the corners of this tip down because my thumbnail is quite flat, so it's actually quite tricky to apply tips to, but I'm just making sure that that tip has adhered nicely to the nail, and then I did exactly the same on all of the other nails, so we have our tips applied. However, they are way too long for me right now, so I'm going to cut them down using some tip cutters. I come in and I just trim them down roughly with the tip cutters, to be honest, just so I can get a rough length of what I want the nails to be. I'm then going to come in with my file and shape the tips so I don't worry about this step being perfect. Once I have finished trimming those tips down, I'm going to take my Kiki London file and I'm going to use the 180 grit side to shape the nail tips. Now at this point you could trim the sides of your tips with some scissors, but I personally prefer to shape my tips completely with the file. Trimming them with the scissors into shape does save some time, but I find it a little bit easier to get a uniform shape on all of the nails if I'm just doing it using my file. Again, it's another thing that I find a little bit easier to do on somebody else compared to doing on myself. But here all I'm doing is taking that file and shaping my tip and bringing the sides in to the center and then rounding off that center a little bit to create a pointed almond / mini stiletto shape. This is one of my favorite shapes to wear on my own nails. Now, when it comes to shaping the tip, I like to bring in the shape a little bit more than what I want the overall finished look to look like, because once you have applied your product, they aren't going to look as narrow as what they do here. So just bring it in a little bit to take in account for the products. Then what I'm going to do is, sticking with that 180 grit side of the file, I'm going to blend my tip in to the natural nail a little bit, and I'm also going to remove the shine from that nail tip because gel doesn't like to stick to a shiny surface. It prefers to stick to a buffed or a matte surface. Then I'm going to switch to my buffer and I'm using the 100 grit side, I believe here, just to blend that into that natural nail. You want to be very careful that you are not touching the natural nail plate too much because I have already etched them, so I don't want to be hitting them with the file or the buffer too much because you'll be removing layers of your natural nail. So I repeated that step on all of the other nails and then I've made sure to clean away all of the dust. Once I had brushed away a lot of the dust, I switched back to another Kiki London alcohol pad and I'm really giving the nails a good scrub with this. This is to make sure that we're removing all of that dust, but also to dehydrate our nails ready for the primer. So I'm then going to take my Kiki London primer and just apply a small amount of this to the natural nail plate. You don't need to take this down onto your tip. This is just going to prepare the natural nail plate for your base coat. So as you can see, you only need a small amount, and then once you leave it to dry, it will dry on its own within a minute or two, and then I'm going to come in with the Kiki London rubber base coat. Now, when it comes to applying the rubber base coat, it is a little bit thicker than the classic base coat. So I like to take a small amount on my brush and kind of really work it in to that natural nail plate, just so I get a nice thin layer. Now, I do take it over my tips in this video. This is kind of personal preference. You don't necessarily need to apply the rubber base coat to your tips, but it's something that I've been preferring recently because it gives you a nice smooth base to work on top of. And one of the things that I really love about the rubber base coat is because it's a rubber base coat, it offers a lot more strength and protection for your natural nail. It's brilliant if you have any weak, brittle or damaged nails. I myself am a little bit hard on my nails, so I do usually end up with a little bit of damage. They are quite thin and the rubber base coat really has been helping them. I use it whenever I'm doing a gel polish set or whenever I'm doing a builder gel set on myself. I then popped my base coat in to cure for 30 seconds and we're ready to move on to our builder gel. So I'm going to be using the new soft peach shade from the Kiki London Easy Build Up range. And to begin with, I'm going to apply a thin wet slip layer. So your slip layer is like a guide layer for your thicker ball of gel. With my slip layer, I like to focus on getting a nice neat cuticle area and a nice neat sidewall application. So I'm basically applying this thin wet layer wherever I want my thicker ball of gel to go, but because it's a thin layer, it's a lot easier to control. Therefore, you can get as close as you need to that cuticle area without worrying about flooding the cuticle. And then whilst that slip layer of gel is still wet, I'm going to come in with my builder layer. So as you can see, I've picked up a more medium to large size ball of gel, wriggled that down onto that wet slip layer, and then I'm able to just work this down the nail. I don't need to worry about pushing this up towards the cuticle because it's going to follow that slip layer and naturally flow that way. Then I'm going to hold this layer of gel upside down just to help it self level into the center of the nail. And then I'm going to come back in with my brush and just touch up any areas where it's needed. Now, as you can see, that's applied a fairly thin to medium layer of gel. So I pop that in to cure for 60 seconds and then I'm going to come in and build this nail up just a little bit more, just because the length of these nails is a little bit longer than normal. These are on the medium size and you want to make sure that you're building up enough strength and structure for the length of the nails. Now, sometimes I will do my builder gels with one layer of gel and sometimes I'll do them with two. It does depend on the client, how you're working. You just need to make sure that you're getting that layer of strength in there and you're building up enough of the apex. So that's why I decided here to come in with a second layer, just so I could make sure I've got enough product there in that back third for the apex and enough product in those stress areas and running down the center of the nail. Same as before, I've held that upside down and you can see here it's a really nice smooth application. It's self-leveled nicely and I've built up a nice apex. So I'm going to pop that in to cure for 60 seconds. I then did exactly the same on the little finger because these two nails are going to be the same in this set of nails. So that's both those nails are done for now. We'll come back to them further along in the video. And at this point, you don't need to worry if you do have any unevenness or if your gel's a little bit lumpy bumpy, because we are going to file those nails into shape a little bit further along. So moving on to the middle and ring finger, I'm going to be doing some encapsulated nail art on these two nails. So I'm coming in on the middle and the ring finger and I'm applying a really thin layer of the soft peach. I just want this layer down for some glitter to stick into and also to start building up a little bit of the colour. Although we're using only a thin layer, when you use this product thin, it's kind of like a tinted clear, and I loved that effect on the nails. Now, whilst this layer of gel is still wet, I'm going to start tapping in some glitter. So I started off with this opal glitter. It has a bit of a blue/orange colour shift to it. So in certain lights it looks blue, and then in certain lights it gives off this really lovely orange gold effect. So I felt as though it tied in with the design I had in mind perfectly. Now, I don't want to fully cover the nails. I'm just popping on some glitter here and there. And I'm then going to pop that layer of gel and glitter in to cure for 60 seconds. And we're going to do exactly the same on the thumb. So here I'm coming in again with the soft peach, really nice thin layer of gel. When you're encapsulating and building up layers of nail art, you want to make sure that you're keeping each layer nice and thin. So that's why I've just applied a nice thin layer, and I've also been really careful that I don't hit my cuticle or any of the skin surrounding the nail. Again, pop those glitters on and then I'm going to pop that in to cure for 60 seconds. And just look how pretty this glitter looks against the soft peach. It's absolutely beautiful. Now over the top of that, I'm then going to do another really thin layer of soft peach. Now I still use the soft peach here rather than a clear because I like that effect that it gives off with the glitter being slightly encapsulated in the tinted colour. And then into this layer of gel, I'm going to be tapping on a more chunkier glitter mix. So these glitter pieces I have here, I've got some stars, some butterflies, some large dots, and I'm just tapping them in. It's a little tricky to see on camera, but once they are encapsulated and top coated, they show up a little bit better. Again, being really careful with that layer of gel, keeping the application nice and neat so none floods the cuticle. So again, you'll see here, just applying a really thin layer. And then when you do apply your chunkier pieces of your chunkier pieces of glitter, you want to make sure you're really pressing them down into that glitter that you've applied and making sure that you've not got too many of their edges sticking up. So depending on the size of the glitter pieces you're using, just bear in mind where you're placing them, just so that when it comes to encapsulating, you're going to be able to encapsulate them a lot easier. If you do have any really chunky bits of glitter, try to focus them in the apex or down the center of the nail so that when it does come to encapsulating, you're going to be able to apply your thicker ball of gel where it's needed. So if you apply your glitter into the strength areas, that's where you're naturally applying a thicker layer of gel, so it encapsulates them a lot better. Doing exactly the same here on the thumbnail. To be honest, I wasn't really thinking about what pieces I was placing or where I was placing these glitter pieces down in the nail. If I was to do this design again, I would kind of map out where I want certain bits to go so the design flowed a little bit better. You'll see what I mean when we come to applying our marble effect. Now we have our chunkier glitter pieces cured in place. Just look how pretty they look. You could encapsulate at this step and finish the design there, but I wanted to add in a little bit more nala to this design. So I loved this opal effect with the neon colours I've seen around lately. So I decided to take my 7 neon pastel shades from the new Pastel Neon collection, and I'm going to do some marbles. So to begin with, I'm going to use Purple Rain, Chick Flick and Coral Bay. So I'm popping those 3 colours down in a row on my palette. I'm trying to only use a small amount because I'm going to be using different colours on each nail, so I'm not going to need a lot of gel polish here. And just look how gorgeous those colours look together. And then using my dotting tool, I'm just going to swirl through those colours. Now I did over marble these a little bit too much. You don't want to play around with your marble too much. You only need to go through it a couple of times to create that marble effect. Then I'm going to scoop it up using my Kiki London round nail art brush and just apply some of it to the nail. Now this is what I meant about I should have thought about where I was placing those chunkier pieces of glitter, because ideally you want, if you're doing this design, you want your marble to flow around certain pieces of glitter so you can still see some of the butterflies and some of the stars through the design. So I didn't really think about that when I come to doing this first nail, and then I realized I'd covered up quite a lot of the chunkier glitters, so I bared that in mind when I was working on the second and third nail. I did pop that in for a 10-second flash cure just to hold the marble in place while I work on the other nails, and then I'll do a full 60-second cure. So for this marble, I've taken the Coral Bay, Peach Side and Glow Stick, and I've marbled through it. This time you can see it's marbled a lot better because I haven't played around with it so much. And then when I'm placing this down on the nail, I'm working around some of the chunkier pieces of glitter I've applied so that you can still see certain pieces. So on this one, you can still see the star up in one side and the butterfly and the moon on the other side. Just taking a little bit more so I could blend it out a little bit as it come around that cuticle area. And I didn't want all the nails to look the same, so that's why I kind of worked the marble a little bit different on each nail. Again, I popped that nail in for a 10-second flash cure just to freeze the marble in place to stop me smudging it. On to the third marble, I'm going to use Glow Stick, Limelight and Holiday Blues, and this was my favourite one. Just look at these colours marbled together. They work together absolutely brilliantly, which is one of the things I love about the Neon Pastel collection. The colours just all work together amazingly. So here again, I'm just picking out pieces of glitter to work my gel around, scooping up that marble really carefully and then just floating it on the nail. As you're floating it onto the nail, you really don't want to play around with it too much, because the more you play around with it, the more the colours will marble together. So you want to use a really light touch as you're pulling that gel into place. And on this nail, I decided to go up around the cuticle area and then up towards the sidewall as well. And I really liked this pattern. It flowed really nicely. And as you can see, you're still able to see a couple of the stars and a couple of the butterflies. So I then popped all of those nails in for a full 60-second cure, and I was really pleased with how the marble looked with those opal glitters. However, now that we've finished all of our nail art, we do need to come in and encapsulate. So to encapsulate the design and the glitters, I'm going to be using the Kiki London Easy Build Up Gel in Crystal Clear. And I'm going to apply this very similar to how I applied it when we were building up the pointer finger. So with your encapsulation layer, you want to make sure you're encapsulating your nail art and you're building up your strength and structure. So I apply that thin, wet slip layer to begin with, getting a nice neat cuticle area, making sure that it gets all around those chunkier pieces of glitter. And then I'm coming in with a medium-sized ball of gel to build up that strength and structure for the nail. I don't need to build this nail up too much because we have already got our layers of builder gel underneath, but I'm just making sure that my apex is in place. I have enough glitter around the tip of the nail and running down the spine of the nail. I find the crystal clear easy build up gel really easy to work with, so I do really love encapsulating with it because I always find that there's barely any filing to do with any of the easy build up gels, but the clear especially, it gives off such a smooth, even surface, and the clarity is absolutely amazing, especially for encapsulating glitters. Now, I did exactly the same on the ring finger and the pointer finger. So this is what they're looking like before filing. I have a fairly smooth surface. I just need to do a little bit of filing to refine the shape and a little bit of buffing to smooth out any uneven areas. So before doing that, I'm going to take one of the Kiki London alcohol pads and just wipe away the tacky inhibition layer that's left on the nails from the builder gel. So I'm just giving them a really good cleanse. It does make them look a little bit matte, but don't worry about that because you're going to come in and top coat after filing anyway. So to begin with, I'm using the 180 grit side of the file, and I'm just going to file the nails back into shape. So just bring in the sidewalls a little bit and crisp up the tip of the nail. Now, I didn't want these to be too pointy. I do prefer a more rounded point just because I find it easier where I have children rather than a too sharp point. And then I'm going to come over the surface of the nail using the 180 grit side of the file just to smooth everything out and make sure everything's nice and even. You want to be really careful at this stage that you don't over file the nails. Now, the Kiki London Easy Build Up Gel files effortlessly, so you really don't need to put too much effort into filing, especially if your application is on the neat side anyway. So all I'm basically doing is going over the surface of the nail. I'm checking the nails from all angles and focusing on any areas that are more uneven than others. But like I said, I'm really not doing too much filing because there's not too much to do because the product self levels itself quite well. Now, I only use the 180 grit side of the file to do this because I find the 100 grit side will take down too much of the gel. However, you can use the 100 grit side if your application has been a little bit more uneven or if you're practicing and you've applied your gel too thick. So that's what the nails looked like once I'd finished all of the filing. I'm then going to come in with the Kiki London buffer, and I believe I'm using the 100 grit side, and then at times I do flip over to the 180 grit side. The main focus of this part of the nails is just to, again, smooth out the nails a little bit more, but buffing the nails also will remove any scratches that your files left behind, so it leaves you with a nice smooth surface to apply your top coat on top of. Again, you don't want to over buff them, you don't want to be buffing them to a shine because you're going to be coming in with your top coat, and your top coat does need something to stick to. Off camera, I then did give these nails a good scrub to remove all of that dust, and I wiped over them with an alcohol pad. And then last minute, I decided to add some stamping. So I'm going to come in here with this cute little star stamp. So I'm applying a generous amount of stamping polish. I'm going to scrape that excess and then just pick that image up using my stamper, removing any of the excess image using a lint roller. And then I'm simply going to place this down on the pointer. I do the same design on the pointer and the little finger. I loved the colour of the soft peach on its own. Originally, when I did this set, I was going to put a gel polish colour over the pointer and the little finger, but I really liked how the soft peach complemented the neon pastel colours. So I decided I would leave it that colour, but I didn't want to leave them plain. So that was why I just added a little bit of stamping. If you do want to see more nail art included, then do let me know in the comments below, because I know gel polish complements stamping, foils and crystals beautifully. So let me know what you would like to see. And I loved how the white stamping polish looked over that soft peach. It really helped pull the set together because the pointer, ring finger and the thumb do have a lot going on design wise. So keeping the other two nails simple kind of framed it and pulled the design together. And now we're ready to come in and top coat. So I'm going to be top coating today using the Kiki London No Wipe top coat. I absolutely love the shine that this top coat gives off. So it really helped make those glitters underneath the gel pop. As you can see, you can really see the sparkle shine through, but it's one of those things that does always look a lot better in real life, because as the sun catches those opal glitters, they shine absolutely beautifully. And I'm just making sure here to apply a nice thin layer of top coat. You really don't want to be applying your top coat too thick, because the idea of your top coat is just to seal your artwork and design in. And when it comes to editing the video, I was looking at this now here and I quite liked how it looked matte, but I do love that when you pop that glossy top coat over, those colours really come to life as well as the glitters. And the thumbnail was my favourite nail in this set. I just really loved how the holiday blues, the limelight and glow stick worked together. So I then popped my top coat in to cure for 30 seconds, and this is the finished result. Before completely finishing, of course, you do need to come in with your cuticle oil. I'm using the Sweet Peach Cuticle Oil today, and it smells and feels absolutely divine. So I'm making sure to really massage that into my cuticles, just because this is going to really replenish the skin and cuticles after all of the treatment. And then I did wipe over the nails a little bit with some alcohol just to remove the oil from the surface of the nails so that you could see it a little bit better on camera. And just how beautiful do these look. I absolutely love the clarity of the crystal clear easy build up gel in combination with the no wipe top coat. It's just beautiful. I'm really loving wearing these on my own nails. I really hope you all enjoyed watching today's video. Please do leave a comment below letting me know what you think of this design, and if you haven't already subscribed to the Kiki London channel, I would absolutely love it if you hit that subscribe button. Then I shall hopefully see you all again in next week's video. Once again, thank you all so much for watching. Lots of love. Bye bye.